Spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.
Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang! It's over! The Bulls win at the buzzer! Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. Puts up the three. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And I got a special guest in the building with me, one half of the greatest show in the world, the Hoopers Podcast. My guy, Dub. What's going on, brother?
Oh, man, everything's going good. Good to be here. New York-Atlanta connection, like always. You know how we get down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think this is my episode 199, to be honest.
Ooh, now I got to come back to 200.
Yeah, I think so. I have my math. I don't got my math all there and all that, but I think it's 199. So we getting close to 200 official episodes of the Off the Ball podcast. Appreciate everyone who has supported throughout this 4-year journey and all that. It all started with Kevin Durant decided to go to that other team in New York and all that. It's come full circle, Dub. Now the Knicks are the team that's rocking, and the other team is who knows what they're doing. They in disarray and all that. But you know, we're gonna talk about the NBA playoffs. We got a lot of on tab today. Make sure to like, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. If you watch it on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Off the Ball Network YouTube. If you're on X, make sure to tweet, engage, and all that. Facebook too. Appreciate everyone to support. But Dub, it was a knock 'em out, drag 'em out game last night. Came down all the way to the end and all that, but Knicks couldn't get it done. So with this series, obviously it's near and dear to me, obviously, but you know, this is we knew that this series was going to be predicated on, you know, can the Knicks just be healthy, man? Right. They just, you know, we've obviously the injuries, you know, to Julius is one thing, but and then now, you know, first it was Mitchie. Mitchie was out, you know, he got hurt, you know, he's possibly out for the rest of the postseason and all that, and then obviously OG now hurt with, he's out. We don't know if he's going to be out for the rest of the series or he's just going to be out for. But he's out. He was out for last game, and he's out for most likely game 4, and we'll see that. But can the Knicks survive this series the way it's been played and all that? You know, without a lot of key contributors, and that's not even including Brunson, who missed the whole second quarter of game 2, and at times yesterday he looked like he was hobbled and all that with that foot. So. Can they survive this series, or are they're good enough to beat Indiana as is?
I think they survived the series. I think they're good enough to beat Indiana as is. I think with players like Josh Hart and DiVincenzo out there and Hartenstein, got to give him all the credit in the world for filling in that star center spot for Mitch, especially over the last couple months of the season. As long as Jalen Brunson is on the court to orchestrate everything and keep everybody in order, excuse me, I think the Knicks will be okay. I think I just think the way Indiana wants to play offense is kind of contradictory to what's going to win you playoff games. And even though they have a player like Pascal on the team, who has a big advantage with OG, Mitch, and Julius Randle all out, I think he just doesn't fit well in that offense, whereas Jalen Brunson has shown if he got to go get 40 to, you know, put them up 3-1, he's going to go get 40. Like DiVincenzo hasn't slowed down. Josh Hart, even if he isn't giving you those 15, 17 points, he's giving you almost 16, 17 rebounds. He's still giving you a double-double. They still have a lot of high players. And I just think the way that NBA playoff, look, fans, we complain about, I say we speak in general, not anybody here reported, but we complain about fouls and how they're called in the regular season, saying it's too soft. The offensive players get all the advantages, and you get to the playoffs, and this is what it's about. I think the Knicks still have enough players to play that physical brand of playoff basketball that they want to play in. Shout out to Indiana going home and getting the victory, but I don't think Indiana wants to play like that, honestly. I think they know they have to, but they just don't want to because that doesn't go into what they want to do on offense.
Yeah, and you mentioned like the physicality and all that, and how people complain, and I can't stand it. We're getting what we wanted, but then now it's too hard. It's
Right.
And obviously when you're a fan of a team, you kind of just look at one things from a fan's perspective and that. But I've watched this series and all that, and I feel like both teams could have arguments that with as far as officiating and all that. So for me as a Knicks fan, I'm not looking at like, oh man, they're trying to cheat us and all that, and all that. So I don't look at it that way. I'm like, no, this is a physical series. It's just like it was with Philly. Like Philly, obviously, there's a little bit extra stuff with Embiid and all that, but for the most part, I felt like in this series so far, I think there's calls that but with the calls and all that eventually that goes both ways throughout if you watch the game, eventually you're like, all right, this call could have went like this. There was, especially early in the game, I was like, all right, those some calls that went our way, but because Brunson, he knows how to manipulate. We can't front like he don't know how to like and plays the game like with Trae Young and Harden, right? Like he does. He uses his lack of size to his advantage and all that. So I don't trip over that and all that. I feel like the game was, but I do worry about, and I'm not a proponent of like, I don't get on Tibbs with the minutes and all, because like who you playing, dog? Like Jericho Sims played 4 minutes. Those are the worst 4 minutes I've ever seen. Like it was just bad. Like as a big, I'd never want to see him like. When I see him on the court, I just cringe. I'm like, Tibbs would not play him in any other circumstances.
No, absolutely. And I do want to say,
I just need Hogan to just give me something for a couple minutes, and he doesn't even give you that. Like he does nothing.
No, yeah, and I do want to say I do like the minutes Deuce McBride has given them in those moments when Jalen Brunson has had to sit. I think he's been a good backup. He's been able to knock down shots, get in the lane, good defensively. I just think the Knicks are they're a lot better without injuries, but they're still slightly better with those injuries. Hopefully, OG comes back. Mitch is probably done for the playoffs.
Mitch is done, most likely.
Yeah, I don't think we have to bring him back up, But it's the playoffs as well, and this is when, you got to play through those injuries. If you can get on the court, you can get on the court. If not, you just got to win or lose without you.
Yeah, and those minutes without Brunson are crucial, and you saw like how they played, like how it looked when Brunson was out for the second quarter of game 2. He didn't, so those Deuce minutes off the bench and all that. But the role players, man, I mean, Dante he had a clip yesterday, and Josh Hart, even if he don't shoot the ball well, he does everything else pretty solid. He don't rebound well. He just gonna play hard and all that, so those things are crucial, especially when you're only playing 6-7 guys. And I know people like I mentioned before, like people get mad, like, oh, Tibbs should be playing more people. It's like who? Tell me who he should be playing.
And it's the playoffs, like all that.
Playoffs, we know that, right? Like it's not a 10-man rotation no more. You come the last 3 guys and you playing 7, and in this case, you just might be playing 6 guys.
Right. Hey, if somebody can give us some minutes, cool, but it's not going to be 15, 20. It's going to be, can you give us some minutes in this 5-minute spurt where I just have to sit somebody in? Yeah. That's just the way playoff basketball works. And I think with this particular team, I think more so, I know we're going to get into some other to the other series. I think this year in particular with how how coaches want to coach their teams, I think these are the best fitting rosters for every coach in the NBA. If you just look at how the teams are and how they play, like I think this is the exact style of player and talent of players that Tibbs want for this team. So I don't think Josh Hart playing 48 minutes and 43 minutes isn't a problem for him because that's what he want to do. So, hey.
He's conditioned. He's conditioned well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's working. and all that. But let's go to Rick Carlisle and all that quick. He made some comments after game 2 with the whole we the small market and then what's funny, Dub? I'm like, we haven't won a championship since 1973, right?
Right.
So I'm like, yo, what if that was the case? We would have won a lot of chips if the NBA wanted the big markets to do so well, right? How many small market teams have had success the last 20 years? Like, I'm like, come on now, dog. You can't say that.
Yeah.
The Knicks have been a garbage for the essentially 20 plus years as a whole. You can't say, they're favoring and all. Like, no, bro. If that was the case, we have a lot more rings and more banners in the Garden and all that. So I thought that was just like
it's an interesting subject matter to have on talk radio and Sports Center and whatnot the next day. But yeah, that's a cop out. Your team should be Tyrese Halliburton. Shout out to him before I say what I'm gonna say. He played wonderfully in Game 3, whereas he hasn't been. He's just been average, and he has to play better. He's their leader,
especially in second half. So.
Right, especially second half, fourth quarter. I think Game 2 he didn't take a shot in the fourth quarter.
That's unacceptable. You can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. But yeah, Tyrese Halliburton has to be better. Pascal has to be better, and like I said, maybe some of these, with OG out the lineup, Pascal can move a little freer. But I want to say shout out to Precious Achiuwa too, because he's definitely been a player I've been tough on in the early part of his career, but. Another player that Tibbs that fits the system of defense and offense that he wants to play, and it just works there. It just works.
Mm-hmm. And he sets good screens, unlike Jericho Sims. It's simple shit, though, dog. It's just simple. If you can't set screens, dog. He did something yesterday. He set a screen and then he kicked back to the 3-point line. Why? What are you doing, bro? You a 7 foot, 290-pound, whatever. You jump out the gym and you going to the 3. They ain't. I was so mad at that. I get mad at Jericho Sims because it's like, dog, you don't know how to play like a big. You don't know how to set screens. You can't rebound. You don't block shots. So what? And then people are like, oh, we need to see Jericho. No, we don't. No, we don't. Josh Hart is 6'5" and could do more stuff on the boards and screens and blocking shots.
No, sure.
I don't need you on the court, bro. Right. I don't care if Mitch robs, but this is going to be interesting to see how obviously Jalen Brunson holding up. We'll see how they hold up. Because if Jalen goes down, it's a wrap.
That's what we don't want to see.
That's the thing, because he was laboring. Obviously, he missed all of the second quarter in Game 2, and then he was laboring. He's been on the floor a lot too, so. Hopefully, gets back. But it's been an entertaining series as a basketball fan so far. So Game 4 should be interesting and all that. Let's head to the other side, the other series in the East. Cavs, Celtics. Cavs win Game 2. Is
stinker.
The kind of resemblance of what happened with Miami in the last series, where we're like, all right, they got it, and people kind of overreacted, and we're going to expect the Celtics to dominate the rest of the series, or are we low-key worried that Boston may slip up and the Cavs may have a shot to actually win this series because they took home court advantage away?
I want to first say I'm not surprised Boston lost. I'm surprised the way they lost.
The way they lost, right?
Boston's been, if nothing else, consistent all year, playoffs included. Jason Tatum has to be better, first and foremost. You can't let Donovan Mitchell do Donovan Mitchell things and you don't try to match that. I'm not necessarily worried about the Celtics losing this series. I still have the Celtics going to the conference finals because I just don't think Cleveland is going to be consistent enough outside of Donovan Mitchell. I think at some point, we know Donovan Mitchell can get him 50 in the playoff. We know he can get him 45. We know he can get him 30 and 10 assists. But at some point, when does Evan Mobley, if nobody else, when does Evan Mobley take that next step? Because I believe until Evan Mobley does that, they'll compete, but they're not going to beat the Celtics because he's probably the one. With Porzingis out, they have a matchup advantage with Evan Mobley in the post because you can do some things to get him some advantages with him on Derek White, even Al Horford a bit being a couple inches taller than him, being younger legs. but somebody else has to play consistently when Donovan Mitchell is going crazy out there. Because at some point he has to sit. He's got to go to the bench. The offense is going to have to go through somebody else, whether that's Garland or Evan Mobley. And Garland has to play better as well, play more confident.
He's the key. He has to play better. He has to play better.
Realistically, nobody on the Celtics is just going crazy to where it's like, oh, yeah, we can't beat the Celtics. Like Derek White is – if Derek White right now is their finals MVP. I know they haven't played in the finals, but he's their finals MVP right now. I don't think the Celtics are going.
He's their best player right now.
Right now. Like they can,
crazy, right? They got two guys making $300 million
and
he's
Derek
their best
White
player.
is the one that's getting it done every night. Drew Holiday is struggling, especially offensively right now. Like I say, no Porzingis at the moment. Role players, Payne Pritchard is playing pretty decently, but none of the other role players are doing things they were doing in the regular season. So Cleveland has an opportunity, but I don't think anybody else is going to step up enough consistently, especially shooting wise. None of the shooters, Max Strus, Gorgeous Yang doesn't necessarily play. Sam Harrell in the regular season, Merrill, great shooter, but he's not playoff proven. So is he going to be scared to take some of those shots or even make those shots that he was making in the regular season?
Hey, they can't be scared. If I'm JB, I'm telling, hey, the only way we beat them is we shoot the lights out. Just like what Miami did in Game 2 to beat them in the last series, and they just shot crazy. They shot a postseason high. Mm-hmm. You know what was like 60% from three or whatever crazy number it is. Hey, that's how we're gonna beat this team. Yep. So like, hey, Sam Merrill, you got a clip, shoot it. George, hey, we brought you here because of your shooting.
Absolutely.
Same thing, Max. We brought you here because of your shooting. We didn't have that. Go shoot. Don't be. Hey, that's how we're gonna win this series.
That's your best chance, because you have to open up those driving lanes for Donovan Mitchell as well. Exactly. Because even if Boston isn't playing good offensively with those players I named that could be better, team defensively they're still gonna be tough to beat. Like they have, Donovan Mitchell just goes crazy enough to where it doesn't matter, but they're gonna be able to force Donovan Mitchell into some things that's gonna make the offense for Cleveland tough. So at some point, Jason Tatum, you have to be. But Jason Tatum finished top 5 in MVP this year?
No, he was, I think, 6th. He was behind Brunson.
Jalen Brunson, you finished.
Which is crazy. Which is crazy to think that like number 1 seed. What they were number 1 seed by like 14 games ahead of New York, right?
Right, absolutely, easily. So it's like a Jason Tatum. At what point? Because there's always every player can take a next step. We've seen Jason Tatum take one step to where he's this 27 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists guy. He's going to play good defensively. But when does he take that next step to where it's like, all right, he's undoubtedly top 3 MVP candidate, and he's going to win. He can be an MVP winner. He's going to lead his team consistently in the playoffs. It sounds crazy because when you look at the numbers, it's like, oh no, he's fine. But when does he take that next step to, even if it's just like Jamal Murray or Anthony Edwards, to where they have, for the players of their status, they have decent or good regular season numbers, but Anthony Edwards is averaging like 33 in the playoffs for his career. He scored 19. I know we're gonna get to. He scored 19 last night, ended snapping the streak of 25. His 25-point streak. We've seen him score 40. When does Jason Tatum do that? Because until he does that, the Celtics won't go to that next level, and that's just the honest truth behind all of that.
Yeah, and that's Jason Tatum is gonna have to realize he's the best player on the team. He's the franchise, right? He's the face of the franchise. You gotta start acting like it. You got to take over and all that, but he hasn't done it. And obviously, like I said, Drew has not been good offensively, and they kind of need him to be kind of that orchestrator, especially handling the ball and all that. Mm-hmm. He hasn't done that. It's just crazy that with all the guys they have, like that, everyone was just off. And that's weird because on a team you would expect, if Drew was off and maybe if Jalen's off, you still got Tatum and it just everybody off.
Everybody. It was a bad night. It was a bad night.
That was a bad. But they have the thing is though, there's too many of those bad nights, especially at the crib.
15-15 at home in the playoffs over this team.
Yeah, they're 500 in the last 3 years at home at the crib. Mm-hmm. That's not good. You know, it's that's the thing that's concerning, and that's why I think we all like skeptical on the Celtics because we're like, hey man, for some reason them boys can't figure it out the crib, and you know they lose these games where you're like, and obviously this Cavs team's better than the Miami Heat team that they play.
First and
So
foremost,
that's why it's like, damn, y'all needed to take these two at the crib, and then you know because the Cavs could beat you, like yeah, you're better than them, but they got Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, and like I said, one person, one of their big three, whether that's Evan Mobley or Garland going, and you get at least two of those shooters going. If y'all gonna play like this, we don't expect them to play like this every night. It just happens too often. But if that any combination of two players get going, and it's a shooter, and it's like say it's Garland or Mobley, because it's not gonna be both of them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But if it's one of them, hey, y'all gonna be in trouble all series because they can match y'all as far as
and they got shooters.
That's
the thing. And now you got to worry about for your Boston is if we know how role players are at home. Mm-hmm. So Strus, George, and Sam even if Sam Merrill gets 10 minutes, if he hitting 2-3 threes, I mean that can be a lot, and that can really, and then you could be down 2-1, and it's like, oh. And that's why you need to at least take the two at the crib, and then you lose one on the road, you lose one. But the Boston's put themselves in a tough situation. But Mobley, we've seen him; he's especially without Jared Allen in the lineup. You see him a little bit more comfortable. He's still a little stiff with his post moves and all that. He needs to go. You need to go call Hakeem, and I don't know that's too expensive. $50K and all that. So I don't know if it's in his budget, but he got to figure. He needs to get in the lab a little bit and work on them post moves because he's still a little stiff, but he's definitely stepped up. Obviously we know what he can do defensively, but offensively he's been better, especially without Jared Allen. So we'll see how it goes. But the Boston Celtics, they lose game 2 at the crib, and now they got to go to Cleveland, and Donovan Mitchell is on a mission and all that, and he's been playing really good ball and all that, and we'll see what happens over there. But let's head out west. And talk about the game we saw yesterday, Denver and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves steal 2 games at Denver, so they have all the momentum in the world going to the crib, and then it just fell out. It fell out, and Denver came out with a vengeance. Murray, we know what happened with Murray. There's questions of whether he should even be playing, because obviously he threw the ice pack, the heat pack on the court, and people are skeptical. He should have been suspended and all. I don't think he should have been suspended. I think, I know it's dangerous. It was stupid and all that, but he got fined 100. Was it 100K?
100K, yeah.
100K. So. He got that. I mean, I don't care how much money you make. You lose 100K, it's 100K, man. I mean, that's a lot of money and all that. So, but I didn't think he should get suspended. If you think he should have gotten suspended, I'm fine with that too. But I wasn't too tripping off the suspend. But he came out, he played better and all that, and they took care of business. They were up by like at least 30 at one point and all that. Why do you think that happened? Minnesota, they take care of business in Denver against the defending champions. All right. The defending, now the 3-time MVP, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But why do you think their lack of experience was why they absolutely got drubbed and could have had a commanding 3-0 lead with game 4 being at the crib? Why do you think that happened? Because one thing to lose, but then there's another thing. Yeah. Like they got destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see Luka Garza playing, man.
No, for sure. I think going up 2-0 on the road, so you coming home. I think that is where some of that inexperience kick in because you get not necessarily complacent, but you get comfortable. Like we're at home, we don't need. You almost go in thinking. I'm pretty sure they weren't thinking this. First and foremost, let me not put this out there. Like I know what they're thinking, but you feeling like, man, we're at home. We got 2. If we can get this 3rd one, cool. But whatever, the crowd will have us. So if we need the energy, we can pick it up. But it's like, nah, that's inexperience talking. Like you just got to come out. Because first and foremost, you want to win every game you can in the playoffs because you want to get it over as quick as possible. but they just got comfortable. Like they were at home, you feel the home crowd, you up, like I said, you up 2-0 going home. I don't think people understand the level of comfort you can have as a younger team with that. Because you feel like you've done things to show that you can play with them already. You can match up well with them. Like you said, you feel like you have them frustrated going on the road. That can cause more frustration. I don't think Jamal Murray should have been suspended 100K. I think he should have been assessed at least one take though. Because why you throwing stuff on the court? Come on, be better. Don't be a sore loser.
If somebody would have got hurt, he would have got suspended. I think the fact that nobody got hurt, was biting.
That's true. Absolutely. But yeah, Denver just came out, and also take no credit away from Denver. They are defending champions. They understand they've been down. Of course, we've seen them not necessarily in the series, but we've seen them down double digits in the Lakers series just this playoffs. We've seen them have to come back and make tough shots, and that's what they did. Michael Malone, got to his team, let them know, hey, we still the experienced team. We've had to go through the gauntlet. We've been in the playoffs longer. We've been in the conference finals. We've been to a finals and won it. They have all the comfortability in the world going home now up 2-0. And that's what happens, and that's what kicks in. That inexperience, being comfortable, get to lay in the bed, Rudy Gobert, probably not even all the way there after the birth of his son. So everybody got to look complacent and feel like, hey, we can take, not necessarily we can take the game off, but if we ain't got it, we ain't got it.
Yeah, and I think if maybe it's, if this was a less experienced team in Denver, maybe this is a few years back, maybe they do get swept in this, but when you're the defending champs, and you let the first two at the crib get away from you. You buckle up and you're like, hey man, we champions, man. We've been through this. We've been through the fire. Just because we lost the first two at the crib, don't mean nothing, man. We got this. We still in this. We're playing a team that doesn't know. They haven't been in this situation before, So we just have to do the little things like we always done. We haven't done that. We got to keep our composure. It feels like coach is out of whack. Jamal. We just got to settle down and just play our game like we always done. Like, why we tripping? And I think that was just it. They just, they just got together and realized, hey, man, we just got to figure it out. And they figured it out. And they took care of business. So, it was an impressive win. That might have been one of the more impressive wins in this playoffs.
Yeah. I also think because they won by 27. That's the largest win by a defending champion after being down 2-0. So it's like, they did what they were supposed to do, honestly.
Hey, and you needed this win. At no cost. It don't matter if you won by one. You needed to get the win, and you not only won, you made a statement like, "Hey, this is a series. This is a series." Hey, we had a lot of close games versus LA. Jamal helped us late. They have defensively created a massive wall, especially hounding Jamal Murray. Pick and rolls have been picked like. They've been able to identify pick and rolls and switch perfectly. That don't matter. We got to figure this out, and they figured it out, and they got a dominant win, and that puts the pressure back on Minnesota now. Because it's like, they took care of us. Now we need our guys step up. Towns need to play. Everybody needs to step up and play better. So that was an impressive win. They needed it desperately. You don't want to be down 3-0, especially on the road. But they took care of business and handled what they needed to do. So that was a very, very good win and all that. And we know Nikola Jokic MVP for the third time in 4 years and all that. So before we get into talk about OKC, obviously he won his third MVP. SGA finished second. Luka finished third. I think Giannis finished fourth. Giannis finished fourth. Brunson was fifth, and then I think Tatum was sixth and all that. Did they get it right?
Oh man, this is the conversation around this is gonna be interesting first because this 3 puts him in rare conversation. This is a rare conversation.
He's only one of I think 8 players with 3 MVPs.
When you hear the names, it's like the names of names, honestly. But to answer your question, I hate taking awards away from players first and foremost because he had to earn it. But no, I don't think they got it right. Me personally, I would have been more understanding if it was Shea. But I had Luka, especially after the surge Dallas made.
I had Luka too.
Luka had the numbers. Luka had the numbers all year, but it was always about where their seeding was as far as the playoff goes. Like they was teetering on not making the playoffs. But you know, he gets up. They get up to the 5th seed. He's still putting up those numbers. I just think Luka. I think Luka had a better case for MVP than Jokic did this year. I think a lot of it. Not to say that it's going to take away from the conversation, but I think this voter fatigue thing that people like was trying to run with over the last couple of years, you got to let it go at this point because him winning 3 and 4 is like at some point it's not a thing. Like it's not.
And there's a case he could arguably have 4 straight.
He could absolutely.
Because he didn't win. He didn't win it last year because they didn't want to give it to him 3 straight years.
And I can feel that. But like I said, getting that 3rd one is just such a rare conversation to be in. Getting 2 is crazy enough, 2. But getting that 3rd one, and no, we don't have to have that conversation right at this point in his career because who knows how it plays out? Who knows how many more champions? Who knows how he fills out the rest of his basketball resume in the NBA? But it's like getting that 3rd one, and it's like you, Jordan, Bird, Will,
Kareem,
Dr. J, and Moses alone because they count their ABA MVPs. Bill Russell, like you should start naming those names. It's like because it's gonna be a conversation. Y'all, we gonna turn on First Take at some point during the summer, and it's gonna happen because it is what it is. My bad, Magic Johnson and Kareem as well. But it's winning that 3rd one. Like that's crazy. Like my bad, LeBron as well. I don't want to leave off LeBron off that list either. But winning that 3rd one is a very rare. It's like Rudy Gobert winning 4 Defensive Player of the Year. That puts you in a rare conversation where we have to look at your basketball resume as real different now. We have to. Yeah.
And I get the case for SGA. I get the not just the improvements, as far as his game scoring and all that, pass, assists, steals, all that, field goal percentage, but the wins because they weren't even, they had like a 17 game, whatever bump and wins, something like that. It was some, like that, a number 1 seed, so I could get that standpoint, taking the team that wasn't expected to maybe be a play-in team this year to being the number 1 seed out west.
Any other MVP.
Yeah, any other year he wins MVP. And Luka, it always felt like, if he can get them to a top 5 seed with the stats he's putting up, he gonna get it, and he gets a top 5 seed and finishes 3rd. That was my thing. I was like, all right, if he gets to 4 or 5, and then the way they played as a team, he continued doing what he was doing. And then they rolled the second half. Like they were defensively, he stepped up too. Like it was like, all right.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Nobody talks about that. He's been because I don't think it's always about individual one-on-one defense, which he's been good at. I think he's been a better team defender.
Team defender, yeah.
Him, Kyrie. I think once they got the team, once again, the team and the players fitting with what the coach wants to do. Offensively, defensively, I think this is the team that Jason Kidd wants. I think the style of players, the skills, the talent. I think this is the exact team he wants. Like even I know it was somebody made the joke earlier in the year about Josh Green being their wing defender. It was like, no, he is. He's going to be one of their better defenders by the end of the season. Once this team, of course, you can't say once the team is complete because you don't know they're going to get PJ Washington and Gafford. But this is what Jason Kidd wanted. They can switch everywhere. Offensively, they can shoot it. They're athletic. Like this is a good team.
Yeah,
they still got to get coached up.
yeah. And then we can get right into that series and all that OKC and all. It felt like, especially in game 1, we had talked about this in the chat. Like OKC's lack of size was why I thought Dallas would win this series. That for PJ, Lively. I thought that because they had, second chance points is crucial and all that. And I thought Dallas would get enough offensive rebounds, enough that, they'll get enough, they'll be able to score, get more buckets, and take advantage of OKC's lack of size. But OKC in game 1 essentially just said, we're going to let everybody but Luka and Kyrie beat us. So we don't care if it's Derek Jones. We don't care if it's Josh Green. Anyone else, we'll leave them. We're gonna leave them open and let them. They just we are gonna hound with all our big wings because they got a bunch of big wings and all that. OKC, we're gonna hound Kyrie and Luke, and that's what they did, and that's exactly why they dominated Game 1. Game 2, different story and all that. Mavs, the bigs played better and all that. Didn't out rebound them by much, I think, but they took care of, they had some more second chance points and all that, and took care of business. Luke and Kyrie did their thing and all that. But this is a series that's it's hard to predict. It's kind of the one series where it's kind of 50-50, true 50-50, because it is very hard to to predict and all that. But so it's tied 1-1. We're gonna go back to Dallas and all that. How do we see the rest of this series going?
Like a seesaw. I think realistically, I know it sounds crazy. I know we got done talking about this already, but I do think that OKC. I'm going to explain this as best as possible. I think OKC does like to play the foul game, not necessarily to get free throws, but they want you to get your first team out. They want to get that first 5 week and get y'all out the lineup as quick as possible to get some of those second unit players in there against the first, I guess our first 5. That's what OKC wants. Mm-hmm. I think Dallas has to figure out a way to play with. I know it's easier said than done. Dallas has to defend without fouling. They have to not get baited by SGA on those head fakes, on those spin moves. They got to figure out a way to stay in Chet Holmgren's chest before he gets the ball, create some of that contact and get those fouls. I think it's going to be a seesaw because I think what Dallas wants to do, OKC can kind of counteract some of that. And I think some of the things OKC wants to do, Dallas can counteract some of that because of the style, just because of the players they have. I think one of the things with OKC is that they want to, they should go get another big. They absolutely should get somebody behind Chet because once Chet get out the game, they have no size, honestly.
They got Jalen Williams, that's it, and that's not enough in this series.
It's not enough, but because how OKC wants to play basketball, they want J-Dub at the 4 because they want somebody right there who can create off the dribble and shoot. And instead of having to build a player up to be that, it's like we can just throw a 6'5", 6'6" wing right there with a wingspan that's, it doesn't matter. We can switch everything so we don't have to play a natural zone or a man. We can really play a matchup zone and everybody switches everything except Chet, SGA for the most part. So that way Chet can rim protect. I think Jason Kidd has to figure out a way to get Tim Hardaway good looks without killing momentum from the team. He played great the other night, 17 points, first couple, this is his first series back, so he's definitely going to try to shoot his way back into rhythm. I just, like I say, seesaw. Dallas has to stay out of foul trouble because you don't want your second 5 playing against the first 5 ever. That's just not a good setup. Jason Kidd has to figure out a way to keep Tim Hardaway in check. He has to figure out a way to free Kyrie. Like I said, OKC has big wings that switches everything. So
yeah, they've done a good job on Kai.
They've done a great job. Kai played better in some other ways in Game 2, but at some point you need Kai to be that fourth quarter assassin for you. You need him to knock down those open jump shots and transaction. They gotta put a body on somebody. They got it because if rebounding is gonna be your advantage, you have to do everything to make rebounding your advantage. You gotta tag a man and box him out. You can't give up those. You can't let OKC get those tips so they can tip it out to somebody to an open shooter because now you're scrambling on defense again. So even if you are good defensively and nobody's in position, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and they've essentially made Kyrie kind of like a traditional point guard and all that. But
I think that's killing Dallas. I think that's
and that's a good game plan. But you got PJ Washington hitting 6-7 threes and Tim Hardaway. When Tim Hardaway, listen, you've experienced a Tim Hardaway, experience. I've experienced it twice, unfortunately. So there's a lot of ups and downs with that, right? There's moments where you're like, what are you doing? And this moment's like, all right,
whatever. You let it. I let Game 2 go because he played good.
Yeah, he made some shots and all that, but that's the Tim Hardaway. That's why he only gets so many minutes because it's an up and down roller coaster. But when he's hot, what he played 20 minutes and got 15, 17 points, something like that.
Yeah.
So you're like, all right, you take it, but that's not what you want. But that's what you're gonna get and all that. But obviously, Kyrie, we need, they need Kyrie to beat Alf, but he had he had 11 assists. Like I said, PJ had a monster game. Gafford had 11 and 8 off the bench. I mean, not off the bench. He was able to rebound well and all that, do his thing. So.
But he had 4 blocks, I think it was 3-4 blocks.
He had 3 full blocks, yeah.
That's key as well.
Yeah, so he was able to be a rim protector and all that because Lively is still up and down right now. He's a rookie, so he's still trying to, he has his moments, but then, he still looks like a rook at times. But, we'll see. Because for OKC, to me, the thing is they just don't have enough size, man. And I think that's why I went with them. I went with Dallas in the series, and I think it showed a lot in game 2 and all that. And then Chet, especially when he had the ball. I mean, you saw that one play where Kyrie just stole it from him. Because he's so big and he's trying to do his stuff. And Kyrie just
I was watching some highlights earlier, not to interrupt you, but at what point, if we expect those players to be like that, at what point do we start? We had those conversations with Embiid, most like, get in the paint. At what point do we start having that conversation with Chet? I think we're going to be a little more liberal with Victor as far as it goes. But at what point do we, rookie year, second year in the league, rookie year on the court, so you got to give him a chance to give him that experience. But do we have that conversation with Chet now? Because realistically, there's nobody on Dallas who can guard him down there. It's when he wants to pick up and get into the dribbling packages that was like, all right, you might be should they take advantage of that a bit? Because like you say, once you get Lively and Gafford out the game, or you get them in those pick and rolls, you got an advantage. Should we be asking more of Chet, like, hey, go down there and let us see? Because it got to be can you do it everywhere on the court? Because that's what we've been told you can do.
I know that's something he's gonna have to work on this offseason. He got to work on that.
He got
mid to kill. He everything got to be in the restricted area because he could dominate in that area. I know he wants to do more. He wants to shoot and all that, but
I don't mind. Just let it be a tool in the bag and not the whole bag.
Yeah, it has to be a part of it, especially with the way your team is constructed. They don't need you out there out the wings. They got wings and all that. You got SGA out there with Jalen and all that, so they don't need you to be that. So just everything in restricted area, you could dominate, and it's like you're going to be taller than most every person you're playing against, except for like Wemby. So like take advantage of it, but that's something he's going to have to work on and all that. Obviously, he's still young. Only his second year, so he'll figure that out. But this is going to be a very interesting series. I could see it being a back and forth series, 7 games and all that. I could definitely see that because it's just I think it's going to come down just to coaching. This is the one series where I'm like, coaching is going to be the factor. Is it going to be Coach Year and Dagnall, orchestrating the right moves, or are we going to see Jason Kidd finally live up to what we hope he can be as a coach? We know he's a Hall of Fame point guard and all that, but he hasn't had a lot of great moments, especially in postseason. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I think coaching is going to be.
It's his chance, honestly. It's his chance.
Yeah, this is a shot to show that he's a good coach, because that's one thing we've kind of been skeptical about is he actually a good coach and all that. He's had plenty of stops. He's been his 3rd team.
Yep.
So like.
Came right into it as a head coach.
So we got to see what happens and all that. But this is going to be a good series and all that. There's some coaching moves in the association. Vogel got fired after 1 year. And if I'm him, I'm just like, oh man.
There's gonna be somebody else if I was Frank Vogel. I wouldn't even want a head coaching job anymore.
I know. It feels like it's like, yo, I won a championship with the Lakers and I got fired. I took over the Suns. We still won 49 games. I told them we needed a point guard. They got him Bradley Beal. Somehow it's my fault. I know he's not the most creative at times and all that, but I do think he's a better coach than what people see and all that. But I mean, we know how it's tough when you got a roster like this. It's tough to have success the way you wanted to, but he was let go, and then they brought in former Milwaukee Bucks coach, Atlanta Hawks coach, as you know, NBA champion. Coach Bud is now the coach of the Phoenix Suns. So do we think this moves the needle? Do you think this improves stuff, or are the issues obviously greater And I agree. They're greater than just coaching. The coaching, who's going to be the head coach? I think it's obviously roster construction. So, but does this help at all, Coach Bud, on staff?
I think it can help a bit. I think, especially if you let him come in and choose his own staff, so he can run it how you want to run it. Probably gonna get Darvin Ham back on the staff. I still think roster construction is their biggest problem because I think for what Bud wants to do offensively, because I know we were talking in the group chat the other day, I didn't give him a lot of credit for being creative offensively because of how inconsistent they were in Milwaukee offensively. But then I thought about the Hawks team he's coached, and we were pretty good on offense when he was here.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants a point guard. Like, he's gonna want a point guard, and I don't think that having Bradley Beal be the point guard on this team or having Devin Booker be the offensive initiator on this team is what's going to make this team look good any more than having Frank Vogel as the head coach. I do think they need to be more creative offensively. But once again, if Bud is going to be your coach, you got to go get him a point guard. And I think they have to find room in here to trade to make something happen to go get a point guard. Even like they don't have to go get an all-star point guard. But there's a Mike Conley level point guard out there for them to go get that will make this team so much better because now we cut down on turnovers. I know the big thing with KD, I'm pretty sure people haven't, I don't even understand why people haven't talked about it more, but how he didn't like his role in the offense to where a lot of times he was just standing in the corner. I know Fresh mentioned that a lot on our show just when we talked about it. Like, they just don't get KD the ball enough, who is probably at this point still their best player, even if he doesn't want to be. Or we don't want them to be. But until they get this roster to what it needs to be, this 49 wins again, probably get put out in the first round. Probably not. I think them getting swept was the biggest thing that got Frank Vogel fired. But it's probably going to be the same thing next year. Same struggles, turnovers, offensive inconsistency. Bench still going to be terrible. The bench, excuse me, for people that think I just said something else. It's going to be terrible. So I think they send Mike Budenholzer up for to get fired in a couple of years.
Yeah. It's obviously, to me, I think Coach Bud's a solid coach and all that. It seems like he might run through the same issues that Vogel went through if they don't. But they're limited what they can do as far as transactions and all that with being, a second apron team. And obviously Bradley Beal's contract is a no trade clause, and that makes things tough to do. KD was not happy with the offense last season. So you're gonna have to figure out the offense and how to get him more incorporated. But that involves just obviously a lot more actions, a lot more ball movements and all that. The little stuff that we talk about religiously. So they're gonna have to just get some dogs around him. That's what's missing. That's why they lost. They got no dogs. Like, they just don't have. Minnesota out-toughed them.
They did.
They out-toughed them, and because it's crazy. You saw in the regular. I think the Suns swept them in the regular season.
Yeah.
Now, see, the regular season. Because there's back-to-backs. There's a whole bunch of factors and all that. But they just got out-dogged, and they're gonna have to get some dogs around them. They need guys that are just not gonna do the little things and all that. And obviously, they're restricted in what they can do. But you can get some guys on some low, some minimum contracts that just gonna come in and just.
They got to make some trades. They need to make some trades. They have. It's not even. It's just, are the pieces that is going to be tradable, are they going to be worth anything? I guess is my question. Because you can definitely get up off Eric Gordon and Grayson Allen. I know they just gave Grayson Allen.
They gave him the bag. Which I think Grayson's a nice piece and all that, and him being hurt kind of hurt them too, because he can create a little bit off the dribble, and he can make some shots. So they're just getting all the rest of that roster fit, because obviously you're kind of gonna run it back with the big four. Not big three, and then Grayson. You just got to figure out everything after that, because that's what's killing you. Because once one of them guys are out, once the backers come in, it's like, oh, we done and all that. So if they can figure out how to get the rest of that, just a couple pieces that you can trust when KD Book is out and all that, and get yourself a solid backup point guard that can just control the offense a little bit when things are getting a little hectic, and put KD in the right spots and utilize KD because he's still in his prime too. Like he's still a elite basketball player. So you have to take advantage of this while he's still playing high level hoop.
Absolutely.
So, and obviously you got Booker and all that. It just felt like they try to make Booker too much of a point guard. And yeah, he can be a creator, you know, a playmaker at times, but that's not what you want him to be. You want to create for him, you know, not with him. And I think that's what they tried to do too much with point Booker. And it's like at stretches, yeah, when you want him to stagger with the second unit a little bit and him be the prime. But when you got KD and him on the court, you need somebody to put them in the right spots and create, because you need those guys to do that, to do what you pay them to do, and is to get you 30 at the game. Absolutely. And all that. But that's something they have I think they're gonna run it back. They got to figure out Beal too, because if he's gonna be on the team, you got to figure out his role. Is he coming off the bench?
He has to be healthy.
Is that what you got to have the real talk? Like, hey, I know you were a scoring champ, all that, all-star, you LNBA, you cool. You coming off the bench. You're coming off the bench. And that might be the best role for him right now in his career. He's coming off the bench. And hey, you're not that person no more. You ain't that guy no more.
Right.
I think it's better off you come off the bench and you play with the second unit and you do your thing with the second unit. I think that's going to have to be a real thing for Beal, because playing him with the starters, it's not going to work, especially when they have no depth, you know, and they're going to potentially get minimum guys. That's going to be the move, because they're not going to be able to trade him.
No, they're not. There's no trade clause, man. That's a scary thing.
That's scary, and that's why teams don't do it. And this is why, because you can get stuck, and you know they're stuck.
Yeah,
so, they are really stuck. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But Coach Bud is the new coach. We saw Darvin Ham get fired. Well, obviously, with LeBron, you're win now mode and all that, and you kind of have to move different and all that. But who should they target? What kind of coach should they target? Is it? That's the one I can't figure out who. I don't even know if I want to be a head coach for the Lakers. You're never gonna like Vogel. You ain't getting credit for the champion. Like he don't get credit for the chip.
No, not for real.
You're never gonna get credit, and you're always gonna get the blame. I don't know if I want that type of coach. I mean, I know it's the Lakers. I know you get to coach LeBron.
Yeah,
but I don't think you're gonna see like big names, in the running for this job.
I think that's a good thing. I think the Lakers should steer away from who's the hottest person out there that's going to be a coach, or who's trying to be what former head coach is the hot name. I think they need a coach that's really going to. I know it's hard with injuries, and we got to throw that in there. The Lakers had a lot of role players out. Vanderbilt, who was supposed to be a big key to this team, especially defensively, barely played this year. I think they need a coach that's going to offensively make Anthony Davis the leader. I know not necessarily the leader, but the focal point offensively.
Yeah.
And defensively, who, once again, it comes down to roster construction, because they have holes on this roster that needs to be filled. Excuse me, that was terrible for Saturday morning talk. I was doing good.
Mo somewhere is going to clip that. He's going to clip that.
I was doing good all show. But
we're doing good. We had a good run.
I think they need to upgrade this roster, especially in the front court with Anthony Davis. If you see, I hate to compare, but if you see what Minnesota is able to do with Cat and Rudy Gobert, where Rudy Gobert doesn't even have to guard Jokic, which I know people thought was going to be a problem, but he can roam, and you take away those Aaron Gordon dunker spot points, that makes that team so much better. If Anthony Davis was allowed to do that, I think he would also be looked at more favorably as a defensive player of the year candidate, honestly. I think he would have a chance to win, but because Anthony Davis has had to be the you go guard him defender and not the you go create havoc in the passing lanes and at the rim defender, I think that's stopped him from winning defensive player of the year.
I agree. That's how you win Defensive Player of the Year. That's exactly how you win it. And there was times this year where I was like, Anthony Davis is Defensive Player of the Year. He was that good defensively, and
Because he has to guard the best big man or whoever, it takes away from it. Because you got to see those possessions where it's like, oh, he's cooking them, but it's like, hey, he's actually out here playing pretty good.
yeah, and then that's kind of the type of coaching they're gonna need. They're gonna need someone who's gonna be offensively creative. Darvin Ham he wasn't ready. This wasn't his time right now, and we know he's a defensive type of coach and all that, and the defense was solid and all that, but they have to they definitely got to find someone who can be creative and figure out with LeBron how to be that. They got to obviously they got to be cohesive with each other and figure out, because obviously it's going to be tough with a 40-year-old LeBron James at the end of the year, how to utilize him to the best of his abilities, because he's still most effective with the ball in his hand. But you do know that, you got to be more creative offensively. And like I say, roster construction is important too. So that's going to be how to figure out, get some more size,
better off the ball shooters.
Better off ball shooters and all that, and do that, figure out D'Lo situation and all that. But whoever takes that job, they got to know that hopefully they hire a coach so they know that it's going to be there.
Yeah, that is well.
Because the 2 years, like remember, LeBron's 40. He's gonna be 40. So you need a coach who's gonna be here, 4 or 5 years minimum. You don't want to, we gotta get another coach in 2 years, and all that. Like, hey, and also a coach like Ty Lue type, not getting Ty Lue, but a Ty Lue that is not gonna be afraid of LeBron. They're gonna be like, held LeBron, accountable, because LeBron's still playing at a high level, so we hold him to that standard still, even though he is 40.
If I was the Lakers, I know it's probably not going to happen. I will see how committed Udoka is to Houston. I know he's the name to not be named, whatever. But my bad, y'all. But yeah, I will go see how committed he is to Houston. I feel like Udoka, with the way he coaches, the way he's a player coach, but the way he holds everybody accountable, which is, I think, the reason why Boston went to the finals that year. I think Udoka. It's probably, like I said, it's probably not going to happen, but I think a Udoka type of work. That would
be ideal type of coach, because you saw what he did with Houston there. They matured 1,000%, and they were almost a playoff team. So that definitely a name. Like I said, I think he probably stays put in Houston, but if I'm LA, that's definitely a name I would definitely consider.
And even looking, I guess you could say, his coaching tree at this point. You got Will up in Utah, who just had an assistant get hired in another spot. You got of course, Mazzulla, what he's doing in Boston. Charles Lee just got hired with Charlotte.
That's going to be, definitely. We'll see what happens with the Lakers. They got a lot to figure out, but that's another episode of Off the Ball podcast. Dub, appreciate you joining the show. Like I said, one show. I think we're one away from 200. Hopefully we plan something cool for episode 200 Off the Ball podcast. Shows presented by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, one place for all your ticket needs. Use promo code Off the Ball Network, all caps, for $20 off your first purchase and all that. But before we sign off, Dub, tell the people where they can find you and all your work.
Oh man, of course. Once again, appreciate you for having me here today. Of course, New York and Atlanta always connect. Follow us on Twitter, on X.com, whatever y'all call it, at Hoopers Pod. Search the Hoopers Pod in Google, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast at, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Just type in the Hoopers Pod. All that'll pop up, because we are official worldwide international podcasters. And you know how we get down over here at offtheballnetwork.com as well. Find us there. Shout out to the whole team. Shout out to Crazy for having me on here once again.
Appreciate you. And you can follow me. You can see all the links below on this screen. Off the Ball Pod on X, Off the Ball Pod on Instagram. Make sure you to like and subscribe on YouTube and all that good stuff. Make sure to check out offtheballnetwork.com. Check out all the great stuff. Check out the merch shop, also in the links below. So on that note, be well, be safe, take care. Peace out.